GBETV. Yes, sir!
Welcome to the Sharmin Prince Show. I'm your host, Sharmin Prince. I am a Guyanese. I was born and raised in Guyana and left Guyana in 1999. I attended a few schools: St. Ambrose, South Georgetown, St. Joseph's, Critchlow Labour College, and graduated from the University of Guyana. I hope you enjoyed our last show, our very first show, and you have encouraged your friends to tune in. We will be on the air the same time every week. Here are some greetings from New York to Guyana.
People, it's your boy Sharmin, and look who I'm here with, the one and only
Super Ray.
Super Ray. What's going on, sir? How are you? From Brooklyn to GT, alright? Send some greetings now.
You don't know, so big up to all my East Coast crew, them you don't know. Big up to all the girls, them you don't know. It's all about Saturday the 7th, you don't know. Super Ray, welcome home party. That's that place. So furthermore, you big up yourself, you don't know. All the East Coast, the older giants strong.
Denzel, send some
from
greetings.
Beautiful Acting, sending greetings to all my BV, all my Baronians. Hanging out with a brother out here. Today's a nice day.
Yes,
Coming
it
out.
is. Yes, people from Brooklyn to Guyana, you see it. What's up, sir?
Yeah, my name is Christopher, aka Joe Grind.
Joe
Alongside the man that promoting this thing here. Respect to GT Massive. This is Joe Grind. Marcy, respect every time. To all the Cornbread family, to all the family in South. GT Massive, Charleston, Albistown, Tocqueville, South, Tiger Bay. Respect every time. One love.
Those were the greetings from New York to Guyana. Today on the show, I have a special guest. She is Guyanese. Her name is Romola Lucas. She's a lawyer and also the co-founder of the Caribbean Film Academy here in New York City. Let's take a quick commercial break, and when we return, you will meet my guest.
Next Gen Car Rentals. For reliable, clean, fuel-efficient and well-maintained cars, choose Next Gen Car Rentals. Telephone 231-8963 or like us on Facebook. Next Gen Car Rentals, taking you to the next level.
GBETV. Yes, sir!
Welcome back to the Sharmin Prince Show on GBETV, where we know progress is a must. Let's check out the interview with Romola Lucas.
Hello everyone, I'm Romola Lucas.
So who is Romola Lucas? I am curious to find out who is Romola.
Well, you know, it's kind of a lot because I've lived a lot of life. But I'm a Guyanese girl, born and raised in Guyana. That, you know, around the age of 19, 20, migrated to the US and I'm living my adult life here. That's where I would start. So, you know.
Where in Guyana are you from?
Well, like everybody in Guyana, I was born in Georgetown, at Georgetown Hospital. But I lived, my mother is from Klein Port Joint on West Bank. My father's from Georgetown. So we lived over the river, as we would call it, when I was very young. And then my mother moved to Georgetown and we grew up in Georgetown.
Okay. And you went to school in Georgetown?
I went to school, primary school. I went to St. Gabriel's in Queenstown. And then high school I went to Bishop's first and then St. Rose's.
Okay. Very good. And before migrating to the US, what was your life like in Guyana?
I was a schoolgirl. So actually, at the time that I migrated, I was at university. I was studying. I was at UG. I'm just about to complete my second year in geography because that was what I was majoring in. I'm getting ready to go do the national service thing. And then my father was like, "Oh, it's time for you to come over here," and so I left. So, you know, life was basically I lived with my mother, and my sister and brother. And it was basically going to school because I didn't work. And then once I graduated from high school, was on to university and more studying.
Okay. And did you continue pursuing geography when you got to the U.S.?
Well, when I got here, you have to learn the landscape here, right? So when I started looking at schools that I would want to go to, none of them had geography degrees. And then when I started, okay, I just want to study geography, so now I'm going to just go to whatever school has geography. And they're the only school I could find are in Colorado or something like that. So by the time I got here, geography was being phased out as a subject that was being done in university. So I switched majors and I studied environmental science, which was the next closest thing to what I wanted to do.
Okay. And where did that lead you?
Well, so I was living in DC at the time. So I went to the University of the District of Columbia, and I studied. I did a bachelor's degree in environmental science, but I also got an associate's degree in marine science. And through studying marine science, I learned how to first swim, and then I learned how to scuba dive, and then I joined a scuba diving club, and I took this trip to, when I was like 20 or 21, to Egypt, where we did a tour, and then we went out into the Red Sea to dive on the reefs and stuff like that. So that's one of the places it led me. So I'm a certified scuba diver, and then while at UDC, I started playing basketball, and I played on the basketball team for the school. So I played that for like 3 years. I ended up graduating with honors, and then moving to New York and deciding that I wasn't going to do a master's because I know ultimately I want a PhD because I want to teach in college. This is what my life is going to be. So I skipped master's and went into a PhD program at CUNY. And in that, it was a PhD. I was in environmental science, but the concentration was in geology, specifically geochemistry. And I did that for 6 years. And while I was doing that, I was a high school teacher. I used to teach earth science in Brooklyn. So I'm teaching, and I'm teaching in the daytime and going to school in the evenings and on the weekends. So after teaching for about 6 or 7 years, New York City, Department of Education decided that they were going to take all the schools that were not doing so well, the big high schools, and turn them into smaller high schools. So now it's a campus with 3 or 4 smaller schools on it, and they were going to move me to a different school. I didn't want to. I wanted to stay in my community and teach, my Caribbean kids who were coming up here. And so, at the same time, I was kind of losing interest in the PhD program. So I basically resigned from teaching, quit the PhD program, and went to law school. And I went to law school. I went to Howard University, so I went back to DC. And Howard University is one of those, the law school at Howard has produced some of the most illustrious people in the social fabric of the United States. And so I actually went there for a visit. And one of the things they do at that law school is in the hallways, they have pictures of every graduating class from the time the school was founded. So you could walk through the halls, and the school was founded back, I think, in the 1920s or something like that. And you walk down, and you can see the very first graduating class. It was like 6 or 7 people, and they were all men. And then the next year, it's the same thing, a little bit more people. And then the following year, a little bit more people. And then you see the first woman, and then you see 2 women. And then it comes all the way to the present. They have all of them. It's huge now. It's a very big school. Well, it's not, compared to other law schools, it's not that big. But the history and the pedigree of Howard, when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is the school I'm going to. And so I went to law school at Howard. And then I graduated. And I was recruited by a law firm in Philadelphia, so I moved there. And I worked at that law firm for a couple of years. And then I was a real estate associate. And this was around the time when the stock market crashed in 2008. So in 2009, I was out of work. And in a city that I didn't necessarily have any family there. So then I moved to New York and started my law practice here, and that's what that led to.
So let's go back a little.
Yeah.
From environmental studies, teaching, to law. How did that happen?
Well, okay, it's a couple of things. I was being very practical in that moment. So one, I had been in graduate school for 6 years and I didn't have a degree to show for it. You know, they call that like all but dissertation. They call you ABDs. Right. And I didn't have a degree to show for it, and I could not like put myself through another 4 or 5 years of doing research and writing a thesis. I had run out of steam for that. And so when I thought about law, I always had an interest in what I call mysteries. So I'm an avid reader. I read all the time, at least up until the time I went to law school. And I love reading mysteries. And so I always thought that I felt a little bit of a connection to law. And my aunt in Guyana was magistrate at the time. And you know, I was there when she was in law school, and she would talk about stuff that she was doing. So I was like, okay, I have these connections, and a law degree is 3 years. You go to school for 3 years and you leave with a piece of paper that says you are qualified to do something. So it was the combination of just being burnt out from all those years of studying and just wanting to do something that there's like where I could see an end to it. And that's how I got into law.
Let's go for a quick break and then we'll be back to the Sharmin Prince Show. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we're back with my guest Romola Lucas. So Romola, after law, you came back to New York and started your own law firm. How has that been, and were there any other transitions? Because you're pretty busy and you like to transition and do different things, and I like that about you.
So moving to New York and starting to practice law, I didn't immediately do it. I had to first get barred in New York, because they don't play. Wherever you practice in law, you have to be barred in that state. So I had to take the New York bar. That was the first huge challenge. And then I passed. So then I had to find work, because, you know, that's just how it is. So I spent some time doing the work. There's like, these types of lawyers are unseen from my perspective, because I never even knew this type of legal work existed until I had to do it. And these are attorneys who are contract attorneys. They get hired to work on huge litigation projects, and it's called document review. So Lehman Brothers is suing Apple. I don't know, that doesn't happen. But let's say you have these two huge companies, and they are they're engaged in a lawsuit, and you would not believe the mountains of emails related to, because you're an attorney, you send emails all day on the matters that you're working on. So whenever there's a lawsuit and you have to, whatever the subject matter of the lawsuit is, you have to go through all of the papers and emails related to this on one or both sides, and that's called document review. So they'll hire you and you work 12 hours a day sitting at your computer just going through documents and marking documents as relevant or not relevant all day long. And you get paid by American standards very little to do it. But these attorneys are needed, and for people who are not able to find work because of the economy or for whatever reason, they can do it and make a living doing this stuff. So I did that for a few years, and again, it's not the type of work that I wanted to do. So I met my friend Peter, and he was doing the same thing, and so we sat there and we worked doing our documents and plotted how we were going to like leave that and move on to something else. So initially when I started, it was a partnership between the two of us, and so we would still do document reviews, but not for long periods of time, just enough so that we could start building our practice. Then I left and I started doing some other work, so I didn't work on the practice itself for a couple of years, and then I decided that I started doing this film stuff, right? And once I started to do the film stuff, I kind of found my thing that I was going to do, and I decided that I didn't want a regular job anymore. I'm gonna go back to running my own law practice, because I can do law, I know how to do it. I just have to figure out how to make money doing it, and I can do that. And do film. And not necessarily have a 9 to 5, but a boss. And then inability to engage in stuff that made me happy.
So you said you found film. How did you find that?
Just because I was tired of going to the movies and looking at other people on screen. I wanted to see stories from the Caribbean, with Caribbean people, hearing Caribbean accents, understanding Caribbean life. That's what I wanted personally. And so it wasn't happening.
So you wanted to see something and you actually created it.
Yes.
And what is that thing that you created so that you could have seen people that look like you, that sounds like you? What is that thing that you created?
It's a platform.
Yeah.
And you know, when we first started, we did research. We were looking around to see if anyone else was doing this, if anyone else cared about Caribbean films, who did. And then we found out that there was a film festival in Trinidad, and it had been going on for at least 5 or 6 years or even longer. By the time we got interested in it, and by we I mean a friend of mine, he was a friend at the time, Justin Blaze. So he had a similar interest. We were having a conversation one day, and I was saying, I want to see this. Why? Who's making films, and why can't we see them? And if I wanted to see them, you know, what could we do? And so he was like, he had a similar interest, and so we started off with Meetup. So you know, Meetup is like one of those social media organizations. So we created a Meetup group called Caribbean Film something, and people joined it. And so we were like, okay, so there are other people who are interested in this stuff just like we are. Okay, so now what are we gonna do? So then we were like, okay, we need to get some films so that we can screen them. And we need to have a place to screen them. So we set out one Saturday. I remember this clearly. We were walking around looking for a place that we could go into and ask them if we could use their place to screen films. And we were walking down Fulton Street, and I remember this store near Flatbush called Nicholas Variety. And I was like, oh, maybe we should go in there and ask her if she knows of a place. Because I knew the woman who ran the store. So we went in there, and she's telling us, oh, there's this guy on Atlantic Avenue, and he has a space. Maybe you could go talk to him or rent it. So then I said to her, so what about here? Do you do events here? And she said, oh, yeah. You know, we moved she sells clothes and incense and anything African. She sells it in her store. She's like, yeah, and books. So she's like, we could just move this stuff out of the way. We have a screen right there and a projector, you know, and we'll, you know, you can screen your films here, and we'll just split the door. We take half and you guys get half. So we were like, okay, all right. And so we created our first Meetup event. We found out that there's a distribution company in Canada named Caribbean Tales. We got our first film from them. And we set up a screening. And we had a huge turnout. Like, in that small space, we had over 50 people. And for us, that was huge because it's the first time we're doing this. And that's how it started. And just everything else that has happened since then has grown from that little, you know, us wanting to see films and starting to do it.
And what has grown? Is there an organization?
Yeah. So, right. So then we started an organization, and we chose to start it as a not-for-profit because for us it's not necessarily it's not something we're getting into because we want to make money, although we need to make money. But we started as a not-for-profit. It's called the Caribbean Film Academy, and we basically use that to organize screenings of Caribbean films in Brooklyn, and we're still doing that now. But there's a lot that has come out of it. So, initially, once we started the Meetup group and we started doing the screenings, then we started to realize that we needed to stay on top of what was happening. And so I started a blog, which we initially called Cine Caribe. That was the blog. And on that blog, I would go research all the Caribbean films I could find. And all the Caribbean film festivals I could find. So I started writing posts of Caribbean film festivals and the films that they were showing. And that's how I learned about what was going on in the Caribbean in terms of Caribbean film festivals, who the filmmakers were, what the films were, and then I started to reach out to them. And started to develop relationships with individual filmmakers. and we would feature their films, we would interview them, and we would post the interviews online. And so the blog started to grow just from us covering what was happening. And by covering what was happening, we were learning at the same time about what was going on. And then out of that also, we saw that, you know, a lot of filmmakers, when they start making films, they start off as short film makers, right? Mm-hmm. So we started to look at a lot of short films in order to figure out what we wanted to show and what we didn't want to show. And through the process of looking at the films and talking to the filmmakers, you know, we were like, no one has these films online and available for people to look at. So that's something we're going to start doing. So we created an online platform. We call it Studio Nancy. And we started to get films from people and put them online for people to view. Some of the films are there for free, some you have to pay for, but they're there if you want to look at them. So that came out of it. And then we started screening films. We developed a relationship with the Brooklyn Academy of Music. We started to screen films there, and then we created 2 film festivals. And I can go on.
Let's take a break, and when we come back, you'll tell us about the website and more information about the Caribbean Film Academy. Welcome back to the Sharmin Prince Show, and we're here with Romola Lucas, the co-founder of the Caribbean Film Academy. And Romola, where can our viewers access the list of films that you spoke about before we went on the break?
Right, so the online platform we created is Studio Nancy TV. So if you want to look at the films, you go to Studio Nancy, and we spell Nancy with an S. So it's studioanansi.tv. And it's a platform that's just there for Caribbean films.
Are there a lot of Caribbean films out there?
Yes, there are. And for us, the definition of Caribbean is very broad, right? So there's the English-speaking Caribbean, there's the French-speaking Caribbean, there's the Spanish-speaking Caribbean, and the Dutch-speaking Caribbean. They all exist. Mm-hmm. And so some of the things we've learned is that the Spanish Caribbean is the most prolific in terms of filmmaking. The Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Cuba, they have a long history of making films, and they make lots of films. Mm-hmm. And their films are well funded, and their festivals are well funded. In the French Caribbean, which is Martinique and Guadeloupe mostly, they also have a long history of making films, and they get a lot of their funding and stuff like that from France because they're still territories. It's still very difficult for them to make films, especially you know, people of African descent. But they're doing their thing as well. The English Caribbean is just now, I think, catching up to the Spanish and French Caribbean in terms of filmmaking. Although the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival has been around now, I think, for 12 years. So from the very inception, they've been showing Caribbean films. People have been making films in the Caribbean, mind you, in the English-speaking Caribbean, that is. And there's a film school at UE in Trinidad and maybe Barbados. But we're behind the other two. And then there's the Dutch Caribbean, you know, which we're mostly talking about Aruba and Curacao and Bonaire and Suriname. And so, you know, they're them along with the English Caribbean, we're a little bit behind in terms of quantity and in terms of how long we've been doing it. And so on our platform, we have films from all of the regions. We have films from the French Caribbean, the Spanish Caribbean, the English Caribbean, the Dutch Caribbean. Because for us, it's all like important and desirable, and all of it.
Can you tell us about some of your projects that you have done?
All right. So when we started off in this film thing, it was not necessarily to make films. Although we were kind of like growing the organization organically, and we had a desire to, like, if we saw a need and we could fill the need, then we would. So that very first screening, one of the things that came out of it is that we connected with a filmmaker in Jamaica who had shot a short film that he thought could have been better shot if he had some more money. So we looked at it, and we saw, yeah, this is actually something that's pretty fun. So the story is like a Jumbie story. So it's like a Caribbean horror film, and he had initially he had shot it, but he said, you know, if you guys can, he sent us a script, we read it, we liked it. He says, so if you guys can help me raise the money to shoot this film, then that's, you know, that would be good. So we said, okay, we're gonna try to do this, and we ran one of those crowdfunding campaigns on Indiegogo, and I think we were trying to raise something like $6,000 or $7,000. We raised about $2,000, but we were like, okay, that's enough. We're gonna make this film with this $2,000. So I mean, we spent a lot of our own money. We went down to Jamaica, met him, and we shot the film. And that film is now available on a Nancy if you to look at. But that was kind of our first foray into producing films. So we went on to make a second film with him, which we haven't released that as yet, but we will be releasing that. And then we started something we called, in 2015, we started something we called the Caribbean Film Project, which is our way of trying to help make films in countries where films are not really being made in the English-speaking Caribbean. So there's Guyana, there's Grenada, there's Dominica, St. Kitts. So we ran the competition in those countries. We got scripts, and we also the diaspora. We come to the diaspora as a country, and we got scripts from all over. And we went through the scripts and picked 4 of them. And there was one winner from Guyana, one from St. Kitts, one from Dominica, and one from the diaspora. And the diaspora person lives in Canada, but she's Guyanese. So her story is going to be a Guyanese story, but it's going to be a diaspora Guyanese story, as opposed to one being made in Guyana. So we worked with these filmmakers to help them develop their scripts. We matched them with writing coaches. Writing coaches worked with them to develop their scripts further, to get them ready to shoot. And we wanted to have a component where we had them work with a director. We weren't really able to pull that part of it off. But where we are right now is that one film has been shot in Guyana already. The film is Adero, and the filmmaker is Kojo McPherson. And that film actually premiered at Tamari Film Festival in Guyana this year. Second film in Dominica, we were able to shoot that film. Is currently being edited. We're in pre-production on the film in St. Kitts, so we hope to shoot that in November. So we'll be going down to St. Kitts to shoot that film. And then the last film, which is the diaspora film, we're still working on when we're actually going to shoot that, but that's going to be the last one. But that's, in terms of production, that's kind of what we're doing.
Great, that sounds like a lot of work.
It is. It is a lot of work.
But I think it's important for especially young Guyanese in the diaspora or in Guyana to be aware that Ramola and the Caribbean Film Academy is doing this, because I didn't know anything about the Caribbean Film Academy, and then when I was asking, only a few people knew about that, and I'm like, okay, so how do we get that out there?
Yes.
You know, and can you tell us a little about your last project? Moko Jambi?
Okay, so so that was not necessarily our project. So what we do in Brooklyn is screen films, and we have 2 ways to do that. We have one screening series at the Brooklyn Academy of Music where we show a film every 3 months, and then we have another screening series that we call Kafa Cinema Nights, which we show monthly for 6 months out of the year. We have monthly screenings, mostly in the summertime, because we can't get Caribbean people to come out in the cold. So our last screening, which is turning out to be our very last screening for this year, was recently at the Brooklyn Academy of Music, and we screened a film called Moko Jambi by a filmmaker with Trinidadian heritage, Vashti Anderson. And it was a film about an interracial romance. An Indian girl in Trinidad fell in love with a black guy in Trinidad, and they had this way of the film, like, is one of those films where that interweaves real life with the spirit life with all of this stuff, and you don't know where one ends and where the other one begins. And that, you know, we had a full theater for that screening. Filmmaker was there along with the cinematographer. We had a Q&A afterwards, and then we had some drinks and stuff after that. But that was the last film to cap off that season, this year's season at BAM.
And when does the season begin?
So next year is going to begin in February.
Okay.
We're working on what the films are going to be that we're going to show next year there, but we know that we're beginning in February, and then every other month we're going to show a film at BAM. So we're going to show 4 or 5 films there next year.
And how can we get the schedule for that?
So our website where we have all our information, events, everything that we're doing is on this website, and it's caribbeanfilm.org. And so as soon as we have the event schedule, it'll be closer to the end of this year, we'll have this event schedule for next year up, and you'll be able to see all the dates and the films that we're planning on screening.
And could I invite you back in February so that you can tell us about the new schedule for 2018?
Absolutely, you can invite me back, yeah.
Okay. Let's take a break. Show, and thank you again, Romola, for being on the show. Romola, what about film do you enjoy most?
Right. So I'm a very visual person, and I mean, although I love to read and I derive immense pleasure from just getting lost in a story that's written, there's something about looking at stories that are on film that kind of really brings home, you know, life. That's the best way I can put it. And so I think it's a very powerful medium for communication and for just helping people to process and deal with everyday life. And that's really how I see art and film, and it's one of the reasons why I enjoy doing it is because it allows me, like, having to deal with watching films and programming films and thinking about what film would be good for which audience and stuff like that helps. Is like in an interesting way that is like art for me. It's like a meditation for me because I enjoy doing it and I'm very connected emotionally to what I'm doing. And so that's, you know, that working in film, that's is the benefit. And I know a lot of people, you know, when the children are coming to them, especially Caribbean parents, saying, "Oh, I want to be an artist," or "I want to be a filmmaker," or something like that. You know, they're like, "You better go study something that you will make money doing," you know. And so children are generally steered towards the more technical professions, and not so much towards arts. But you can have a very fulfilling life as an artist. But even if you don't have a fulfilling and profitable, let's say, life as an artist, you can still use art in your everyday, like, be able to express yourself artistically, and that can be therapeutic. It is healing. It is all of those things, because when you engage with people and stories in this way, it's like real. And film, I think, comes the closest to making it the realest for us. And so, you know, to me, that's why I like working with film. And one of the things we did, I like to tell the story, so I have to tell it. One of the things we did as part of the Tamari Film Festival this year is screen at 2 prisons in Guyana. The Berbice Women's Prison and the men's prison in Luzignan, where all the prisoners were just sent after the break. But before that happened, we screened at that prison. And we screened a film there about prison life in Jamaica. So this is a Jamaican film about life in prison in Jamaica that we brought to Guyana. And we showed it, and we sat, you know, myself and the other people that helped me out in Guyana, which there are a lot, thank you. They know who they are. We sat in the audience with the inmates and looked at the film with them, and you could feel the energy in there. Whenever there was sadness in the film, everybody was sad. When there was happiness in the film, everybody was happy. Like the little moments of happiness that these inmates enjoyed in the film, they enjoyed in the live screening. And when it was done, they were like, wow. A lot of them made comments saying things like, if I had to do this all over again, I would not live the kind of life that would let me end up here. And a lot of the guys in the film, their prison sentences were 25 years and 50 years and life sentences. And they were like, my sentence is a 4-year sentence, and I don't think that I could do 4 years, but these guys have to figure out how they're going to be in there for 25 years, and they're doing it. So that kind of like gave them the courage to, in a good way and in a bad way, figure out how they're going to finish their sentences. But also, a lot of them, at least at that time, we're talking about how they would not end up back in prison. They each wanted a copy of the film for themselves, like a personal copy, as a reminder of those stories, and that they don't want to be in that situation. And then they said, can you send? So everyone in the prison didn't get to see it. So they're like, everyone in this prison needs to see this. So can you send us copies so we can show on the cell block? And then they were like, you should show this film on TV in Guyana so that people could see it before they end up in prison. But that's the type of response that you get at times from looking at films with certain audiences, and it's what I enjoy the most about the work that we do. So we show films to all different types of audiences, but whenever we find an audience like audience in the prison, and we can show a film that has meaning to them, and we can engage them with the film and with each other and with us afterwards, that is actually one of the most rewarding parts of things about doing this.
I mean, your passion comes through when you're talking about it, but is there anything that is challenging or that you really don't particularly like?
So I'll say this. There's nothing that I don't particularly like, but there are lots of challenges. And I'm the type of person I have on my mind is that, okay, if this is something I want to do, I understand it comes with challenges. So the challenges they don't faze me. I just figure out how to deal with them. So our biggest challenge is, well, we have lots, but one of the biggest ones is funding, right? So we're still doing this ourselves. We fund our activities ourselves. Justin and I both work, and we put our money into the work that we do. We've gotten some grants, and those have been a blessing, and we'll continue to apply for them and get them. But they're kind of a drop in the bucket in terms of what we're actually doing. We also, another big challenge is engaging people, reaching the people that we want to reach, and reaching the people we know would enjoy and benefit from the work that we're doing. That is a huge challenge. We're limited by our financial resources. And we were limited in our ability to reach people. So like that, working that out and being able to spread this to more and more people, have them participate in it, be aware of it, enjoy it, is one of our challenges.
Well, that's the reason you'll be back in February when the new calendar comes out, so that you can share it with the audience. Yeah. Because I'm sure that we have viewers that are excited to hear what you're doing and would like to participate. On that note, I'd like to thank you for being on the Sharmin Prince Show. And
thank you for having me.
And I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you've inspired quite a number of people who wanted to make some changes but were scared. So thank you again, and I'll be seeing you in February.
All right.
That was my interview with Romola Lucas, and I'm sure after listening to it, you're motivated and you learned something about a gem of Guyana. Let's take a quick commercial break.
GBETV. Yes, sir!
Next Gen Car Rentals. For reliable, clean, fuel-efficient and well-maintained cars, choose Next Gen Car Rentals. Telephone 231-8963 or like us on Facebook. Next Gen Car Rentals, taking you to the next level.
Welcome back. I am your host, Sharmin Prince, and this is the Sharmin Prince Show on GBETV. Let's check out a video.
Everything in life just takes time. Going them, hang them. 2016. Everything in life just takes time. Man done did that tell you, so you gotta wait on it. Man done did that tell you, so you gotta wait on it. Hey. Everything in life just takes time. Go on, Bill, but you gotta wait on it. Wall out you, so you gotta wait on it. She said me can't go let you eat. Me say things take a little time. Take a little time, things take a little time. Although your money big, that can't go help you, just so alkaline. Just a little time, things take a little time. She said me never sleep with you, get it up of your mind. In a due time, things take a little time. She said me have me man and me no plan to cheat pan in no time. Just a little time, things take time. Well alright, believe me, your body are the realest. When me hear ya see that thing that man feel it. I be crying, I want you keep it. I me really want you, girl, me mean it. Oh, can't believe how we this. Turn on the light when we a touch, me need to see this. Oh yeah. Remember when you just said it, me day. Now me cock up in the house and watch TV. Yeah. Can't believe how we this. Me turn man a yarn, me this. Life are the trickiest. Now we do it every day and every minute. Just a little time, take a little time, things take a little time. She say your body good, me want people put your body next to mine. Just a little time, things take a little time. Say she never kiss a girl, I don't know she no mind. Can you say a time, things take a little time. She say me ready for you, love me and me friend one time. Right now, just a little time, things take time. Next part now. Since when you get so freaky, I don't know, me no know. One time you couldn't talk them things they round you. No, you did say a germs alone go long. Now you turn a termite, me can't control you. But all of a sudden you just turn a witch. She say me fi go deep, me not do it. All it go on me a go on, she don't manage it. Somebody tell me what the f is this? Oh, can't believe how we this.
Dancing them see the performance. Enough people see me life and want one, but them no know say more time it look dormant. And them no see say I'm me belly me a crawl pan. Cause my mama just called me with tears in her eyes. She never know me have a stage show tonight. Not even she see the fears in my eyes. But me just a go and put on the show. Cause they don't know, yeah. They don't know, oh, they see me smile, but they don't know what I feel inside. Only you know, only I know, Jah. They see me smile, but they don't know what I feel inside. Yes, in at the boiling sun, putting it on the street. Righteous music, me putting it on the beat. But nothing no righteous about how life set. If you no know hard life, then you no know life yet. Because my papa just call me poverty, make him a screw. Him never know, say me have an interview. But me still have to put on the show. Because they don't know, I said they don't know, yeah. They don't know. But they don't know what I feel inside. Only you know, chronics. Only you know, oh yeah, yeah. They see you smile, boy, but they don't know what you feel. feel inside. Love me make my ball, leave me make my cry. Yes I, oh, and I say love me make my ball, love me make my cry.
I hope you enjoyed the video. This is the Sharmin Prince Show on GBETV, where we know progress is a must. You have to tune in next week. You don't want to miss next week's show. I have a special guest, a 25-year-old Grenadian child sexual abuse survivor who at age 14 decided that she had enough of her abuse and walked into the social service department and reported the case. She is the author of Helpless Cries. You can actually preview the first 3 chapters of her book on Amazon, so you can get an understanding of who she is. Michelle Alexander, and the name of the book is Helpless Cries. Next week, the same time, the same channel, we will be interviewing and speaking to Michelle, and you don't want to miss it. You can actually have your children present and invite all your friends, because here is a survivor story. I know you enjoyed today's show with Ramola, and I want to thank you for tuning in, and thank you for inviting others to be a part of this show. This was the Sharmin Prince Show on GBETV, where we know progress is a must. Good night.
GBETV. Yes, sir!